Hi everyone, today I'm going to do again a complete tutorial on acrylic pouring. With a swipe on this canvas. Okay, so we're going to do a swipe on this black canvas that I gessoed and painted black with one of these Premier Color black paints. So I'm using heavy duty silicone, which I spray into one of my little cups over here, one of these little containers. I take it outside and I spray it in here, leave the cap off for it to air out. Sorry for the spill and the things that are falling on. Okay, and I want to explain my DIY pouring medium. I've been using it since the beginning. And I want to let you know, although you may think that $15 for a gallon is pricey, but remember, you get to mix 20 to 30% water into this. So by the time you buy it, for $15, you keep diluting and diluting and diluting it. It's not $15 a gallon, but it's way cheaper than $17 for a little jar of pouring medium by Liquitex, which they have changed their recipe and it's not as good for pouring medium. I just want you to really think about how much you dilute it and how far a gallon really goes. I didn't bring a gallon out right now because it's just too big, so I just thought I'd bring this out. But just remember how much you're getting for your money when you use this. And like I said, watch my videos. I'm using it in every time. I've never used a different pouring medium, which is basically a recipe that if you look up a recipe for Mod Podge, homemade Mod Podge, that's pretty much the recipe I'm using, something close to that. Okay, I'm going to go over again the way you can tell transparent and opaque colors, why we need them, and how to tell which ones they are. Okay, so this is sap green, permanent sap green. It is an acrylic. And see, the box is see-through. That means that it is transparent, because when you paint it over another color, you will be seeing the color beneath it. You will see it when you paint it through with sap green. This is a semi-transparent color. It's Payne's Gray. And not all the colors are marked on your tubes when we use lesser grade paints. So that's semi-transparent. Here is a opaque color. It is cerulean blue. It's indicated by a black box. You can't see through it. It's full coverage. Okay, so how do we test our paints if we are using craft paints or whatever? This isn't going to be dry, so I'm just showing you how you do it. You paint an opaque color, and then you take a transparent color, or you paint a color like a stripe. Then you take any of your colors or all of your colors and you paint over them. This isn't going to work because it's not dry, but I just want to show you the idea. You take your paints that you have and you cross them. Lemon yellow is transparent, although it didn't work because the paint's not dry. So that's what you do. You make yourself one line on a big piece of paper, cross it with your other paints, and mark down a T or a O. Transparent, opaque, transparent, transparent. So that's how you can test your colors. Another thing is with the glue all, I forgot to mention, people are still having trouble with how do you know 20 to 30%? That's not working for them. They can't do the math on that. Well, you could Google it and maybe it'll explain it several different ways and you'll get it. If you can't get it, put 10 ounces of water in a cup. In some kind of cup that you have, put 10 ounces. Then put 2 or 3 ounces in a cup next to it and look at it. And that might be how you can do it. So 10 ounces would be this big and 2 to 3 ounces would be this much. That's the only way I can explain 20 to 30%. So I hope that clears that up. Those are the questions we're still getting in our acrylic pouring group. And okay, so I'm going to get on with the pour and see if I come up with some answers as we're working. So this is going to be a swipe. Okay, so to try to cover all the things, the questions that might be asked, I'm going to use a Nicole's Neon for one of the colors and show you, it looks pretty thick here. So that's good. But because my mixture is very thin of my DIY pouring medium, let's see if I can get it. Okay, so because my mixture is very thin because I use these creamy paints, I was surprised that this came out so thick. So normally if you have a very thin paint here, you would use maybe some straight from the jar and add your own water. But that doesn't look very thin. I don't know. Hey, that's pretty good for that color. Okay, so I'm just going to add some pouring medium, but from mine, 20 to 30%. Now, my DIY pouring medium has binders in it. And some people use Floetrol, which Floetrol is an extender, not a binder. Okay, so if you thin your paints down too much, you break up the pigments and they're no longer binded together. So you could have some problems with that. Some of the transparent colors especially lack binders. I mean, they have some binders in them, but they break up easy if you add too much water. Let me just put it that way. So that's a good consistency for pouring for that one. So I'm not going to make you watch all those, and I'm going to go ahead and mix my other colors without spilling them and give you a look at that in a second. Okay, I want to talk about color choices. So I like to use Color Harmony because it's more pleasing to me. Anyway, it's a matter of opinion. So what I did was I had this neon pink from Craft Paint, and these are all Premier paints. They're a creamier liquid. So I did have to add more straight glue to this one. Anyway, what I need to do is keep this in one color family, so I added phthalo blue to this color, and I made this color. So then I needed a really dark color, something to surround the cells, and I was going to use black, but I decided what would be the point to use black on a black canvas. So anyway, if I were to use orange, these two would make brown. So this is a reason why it's good to use Color Harmony. Let's see what else. Okay, I'm going to show you that the consistency of the paints. So it was very difficult to get these creamier paints the same consistency as the craft paint. I tried really hard. This one was a little bit tough to do. And I always make a couple batches of white because I always know I'm going to need more. And all right, so now we're going to put our silicone in. I've taken my heavy-duty CRC silicone outside and I sprayed it in this bottle. We're going to put 1 or 2 drops in each cup just for today. That's the way I'm going to do it. And if you put a lot of silicone in your paint, that you could get that one. You can get big puddles on the surface of your painting. So I've overdosed this little cup right here. So what I'm going to do about that is I'm going to mix it in this cup, pour it back and forth so they have equal amounts and this one doesn't end up with a lot of silicone. Okay, so once you have your silicone in there, if you want to make big cells, you stir very little, like this. Okay, and you need to re-stir. If you take a long time to get to finish doing whatever, if you doorbell rings, whatever, you have to make sure that you stir again because the silicone will rise to the top fairly quickly and it won't be mixed in again. So, okay, I'm going to bring the camera back up and show you the rest. Okay, this is dried now and you can see through it. So this was lemon yellow and it was transparent, and this was an opaque orange. So now that this is dried, you can see through it. All right, so we have a plot twist. I've decided that I didn't want to do a swipe. So what I'm going to do is 2 pours out of these cups. I'm going to drag one this way and one this way. And that way, if it doesn't look good, I can swipe after. What do you think about that? And by the way, if I'll write it in the beginning, but remember, you can always pause this video to keep up with it. So what am I thinking? Okay, so for me, I like to pour opaque, transparent, opaque, transparent. So let's see. So this is opaque titanium white. It was a creamy color. And then I'm going to put the deepest color, phthalo blue, which is transparent. It's always transparent. And one of the ways I think that we can tell if a color is transparent is if you can't pronounce it or you can't spell it, it's transparent. The cadmiums are opaque. I don't know of any cadmium that isn't opaque. Now I kind of wish I had a yellow. Okay, let's go in with this. I remembered I double backed and made my silicone. Boy, there's going to be a lot of purple here. This is also transparent. See if I have white left, maybe. No, let's add some pink, neon pink. So that's way too much. Okay, so I think I'm gonna flip it over. Okay, folks, pay attention to this. Oh, bummer. I spilt all the paint out of this cup over here. See? Okay, so anyway, pay attention. I don't know what we're gonna do about that. Let me work quickly. I'll shut the camera off. Okay, what happened was I waited too long because something happened, and so by now the silicone has already risen to the top in this cup, so I have to flip it twice. That's what I'm thinking. So because I want the silicone to rise to the top. So to me it looks like I have my paint way too runny. So this one, I think I'm going to do this. We're going to see what happens. Got to do a wham and a pull. What I did was, while I was off camera, I found some pre-mixed white. That's going to be horrible. That off the canvas. So I found some pre-mixed white that I have. I threw some pink in there. That didn't show up, and I added some pre-mixed phthalo blue because I spilt that whole cup. I can't believe it. I did pretty good today. I didn't have the seem to be getting some nice cells. Did you notice I poured that blue streak right there? Because I found this blue way over there on the floor. It's that kind of a day. Okay, that looks like I never did a thing. I didn't do it. It was natural. I think it's pretty, guys. This needs more white. Okay, pre-mixed white comes in handy. So this is where you know, don't just stop, guys. The beginners, don't stop. That's not it. That's not the end. This is where you become an artist. Okay, so let's put some because this is just a big V. Okay, I'm going to think about this, guys. How does this look? This way? Okay, so if I hung it this way, I don't want to mess this up. I don't want it to look like exactly. Okay guys, everything about this seemed to work. We've got the dark blue making a good contrast against the white, and it made a nice light blue. Everything in the colors showed up. I hope you guys learned a lot from this. So thank you for watching, sharing, and I'll put the people who sponsor my channel in right here. Zoom. And be kind to all kind.